Hi everyone, welcome back. We're going to get started on the next lesson, which will be 12.2. So make sure that you have your book open to page 703. The lesson is called Describe Angles in Plane Shapes. Here are some examples of kind of the angles that we will be talking about. And just to review what plane shapes are, plane shapes are, oh, hold on, let me get my pen ready. Okay, plane shapes are 2D or two-dimensional. They are flat. Okay, and some examples that we talked about were they have to have, they can be a ray, a line segment, a line, and then another one we talked about was a point. So those are some more vocab words that we'll be using again today. Describing angles and plane shapes. So our essential question, what we want to be able to answer by the end of this lesson is, how can you describe angles in plane shapes? All right, so starting off with the definition, what is an angle? An angle is formed by two rays that share an endpoint. So let's first look at this one right here. I'm looking at the one with the check mark. So we have our circle, that is the endpoint. And here's our ray. It has only one arrow going in one direction. Here's the second ray over here. Here's the arrow, and then they both share an endpoint. And this is what we call an angle. Okay, the shared endpoint is called a vertex. The plural of vertex is vertices. So if we're talking about more than one vertex, we would call it we'd say vertices. But here, they're pointing to the vertex, and this is an angle. All right, so when we talk about angles, there are three different types of angles that we will be talking about. The first one is a right angle, and it measures exactly 90 degrees. Now, talking about some angles in terms of degrees is not something that we do a lot in third grade. You will see this as you get older. So our goal is to just talk about these angles with the names that I'll say right now. So we have a right angle, and here you can see, here are the two rays that make up this angle. There's one arrow, there's the other. And a right angle, if we draw this little shape here, it makes a square in the corner where the endpoints are, and that's called a right angle. The second type of angle is an acute angle. And this is where the angle is less than 90 degrees. So we're thinking it about in terms of, is it a right angle? No, okay. Is it smaller than a right angle? And the answer is yes, and that would be an acute angle. The third type of angle is an obtuse angle, and that means that it's bigger than a 90-degree angle. So if I were to draw what a 90-degree angle would be like, that would be 90 degrees. This one here would be an acute angle, and then this new one here is an obtuse angle. So those are the three words we're going to use: right angle, acute angle, obtuse angle. So now we're kind of looking right in your book. Right on page 703, you can see this paper here with the blue dots, and then here's a shape. This is a closed shape because all of the endpoints are starting and meeting in the same place. So think to yourself, what types of angles do you see here? So I'm going to remind you, we have right angles, acute angles, and obtuse. Do you see any of those in this shape? Take a moment and look. Okay. So if you were to say that this is a right angle, you are correct. That would be a right angle. Here's another right angle. Because if we draw that little box, it's going to make a perfect square. Okay, let's look at this angle here. This angle would match this one here. It is smaller than a right angle. It's acute. These are both right. And then this last one up here, if we're looking where these lines are coming from, this endpoint, those are actually greater than a right angle. And we would say that these are obtuse. So there's 4 angles in this shape. We have right, obtuse, and acute. All right. So now what I need you to do is to get your straw. In your folder, all of you had a different colored straw, and that's what we need for this lesson. So if you need to go get this, go ahead and grab it. Remember, you can always press pause and then press play when you're ready to continue. I already made these straws for everyone, so you don't have to worry about having scissors because I've already connected the straws and put them together. Okay. So we're gonna use this as a tool to help us learn more about angles. So I want you to think that this part of the straw is one ray, and this is another ray, and where they connect at this bendy point here is the angle, or the end point here would be the angle. So right now I want you to take your straw and try and make a right angle. So one is going straight up to the ceiling. The other straw should be going kind of like, it should be able to be flat against like a table or a desk. And this would be a right angle. Now in your book, I'm going to show you what I want you to do. I'm just going to do it on this paper. You're going to use the space given. I want you to draw a right angle. Just like this, using your straw to help you. Because it's a right angle, we're going to put that little mark. So what you should have on your paper is something like this. Okay. Then I want you to take your straw and I want you to make an acute angle. So if this were a right angle, now we want to make it smaller. So I'm just going to take that top straw and almost like you're going to squish them all the way together. So you're making this right angle less than. So now using the straw, I'm going to try my best to draw an acute angle. And it should look something like that. And now, because this is an acute angle and not a right angle, we don't get to put that little boxy shape. That's only for right angles. And then take your straw. So if we were going acute, back to right angle, and an obtuse angle is bigger than a right angle. So you're going to make your straw kind of go in the opposite direction. Again, trace it on your book. You should have something like this. So let's use these math words and write these down. So we have right, acute, and obtuse. Okay. All right. Take as much time as you need here. Remember, you can always press pause. And let's keep going. Okay. So we're on page 704 now. 704. Number 1 says, how many angles are in the triangle at the right? Well, let's go ahead and circle them. So every time 2 lines meet at an endpoint, there you have an angle. So we can count. There's one right here, one right here, and right there. So how many angles is that? Well, it's 3. Okay. All right, numbers 2, 3, and 4. The directions say, use the corner of a sheet paper to tell whether the angle is right angle, less than a right angle, or greater than a right angle. So here I just want you to take your straw. So we're using our straw, and if I put this straw against that first shape in number 2, I can see that my straw is going greater than a right angle. So we would say number 2 is greater than. Greater than a right angle. So remember, right it's almost like the corner of a square. Less than, greater than. So number 3, if we take our straw as a right angle and place it against, you can do this in your book, place it against that angle in the blue, you can see that those blue lines, they're going in, underneath this angle. So we would say that it is less than. Oops. And then number 4, right away, I know that this is a right angle because it has that little square. When you see that shape in where 2 line segments meet, you know it's a right angle. But just to be sure, take your straw, make it that perfect corner, and then match it in your book, and it should be a right angle. So we're looking at these angles to see is it greater than a right angle? Is it less than, or is it a right angle? Okay. All right, let's keep going. So what I want you to do when this lesson is over is go around your house and try and find different types of angles, thinking of greater than right, less than a right, or a right angle. So here's a picture of the U from the Utah Utes. And take a moment and look and see if you can find a right angle, an obtuse, or an acute. Okay, go ahead. I'll give you about 1 minute. Okay, so let's start with green. And we're going to go and circle some of the angles that are all right angles. So let's see, we have one right here. Like this inside angle is a right angle. Again, right here. Those are all right angles. Okay. Let's move to red. See, I want you to go and see. Can you find any that are obtuse, so greater than a right angle? If you were thinking right here, that's correct. Same there. And there. Those are all right angles. No, I don't think this shape has any acute angles. And sometimes that happens. Not all shapes will have all three. Okay, let's go back to our book, page 705. Okay, so let's start at number 5. Our directions are, write how many of each type of angle the shape has. So number 5, how many right angles does this shape have? Remember, look for that special sign to tell us, is it a right angle or not? Right away, I can see that there is one here. 1, 2, and 3. Okay. Does this have any that are smaller than a right angle? So these are the only 2 angles left, and that would be a no. Those are both greater than a right angle. Okay, number 6, we're starting with right angles. Do you see any of these little shapes or signs in there? Nope. This shape has no right angles. What about ones that are less than? So where that means our straw here, right angle. Are there any that are smaller? Yeah, there's one here and one there. That would be 2. And then any that are greater. So here's our right angle. Are there any that are greater? There aren't. If you said 2, you're correct. Okay, and number 7. How many right angles are in this shape? If you said 4, you're correct. And in this shape, as this shape of a square, there are no angles that are less than a right angle, and there aren't any that are greater. So all 4 angles are right angles. Okay. Okay, moving on to number 8. Sorry, just a moment. Here we go. Okay, number 8. Use the corner of a sheet of paper to tell whether the angle is a right angle, less than, or greater than. You can either use a piece of paper that you have, because the corner of a piece of paper is always going to be a right angle. So you can hold it up to your book and see if it matches, or you can use your straw. So for number 8, if you said less than, that's correct. Sorry, I just need to fix my pen. Okay, so this would be less. Less than a right angle. Number 9, if you said right angle, that's correct. And number 10 would be greater than. Okay. So 11, 12, and 13. I want you to try and do this part on your own, and then we'll correct together. So you need to tell me how many right angles there are, how many that are less than a right angle, or how many that are greater than a right angle. Okay. And sometimes the answer is 0. So take about 1 minute, and then we'll correct. Okay, let's get started. Okay, number 11 has 1 right angle. So if you said 1, that's correct. Remember, if you make a mistake, that's okay. We learn from our mistakes, just erase and write the right answer. Any that are less than a right angle? Yes, 2. Greater than? No. Okay, number 12. If you said 4 right angles, that's correct. There are 0 that are less than, there are 0 that are greater than. They're all right angles. Number 13. If you said 2 right angles, that's correct. There's 1 that's less, that's this one here. And then there's 1 that's greater. That's this one there. Okay. Okay, I want to do number 14. So on your book and on the video, it says, describe the types of angles formed when you divide a circle into 4 equal parts. So I'm already thinking back to what we learned about dividing and what we learned about fractions, to divide a circle into 4 equal parts. So let's do that. Somewhere in your book where you have space, I want you to draw a circle. We just do the best we can with our shapes. Now divide this into 4 equal parts. So we know we can cut it in half. That's 2 equal parts. Cut it in half again. That's another 2 equal parts. Now look at the angles that we just made. I'm going to change the color of my pen. Okay, so we just made 4 angles right in the center because remember, angles are made from line segments. And line segments cannot be curved. They always have to be straight. So right here in the center is where we have 4 new angles, and it kind of makes a perfect T. Well, if we were to look at these with the corner of a piece of paper, they would all be right angles. So if we cut this square into 4 equal pieces, the types of angles that we just made, well, they're all right angles. There you go. Okay. All right. Okay, we're going to wrap it up here. So let's go back to our essential question. How can you describe angles in plane shapes? So we're thinking about the 3 types of angles: a right angle, greater than a right angle, or less than a right angle. When we're talking about shapes and we're talking about angles, those are the 3. Right angle, greater than, or less than. Or we can use their math words, which would be right angle, obtuse, or acute. So find a space in your book to draw these. What type of angle is this? If you said right, that is correct. What type of angle is this? If you said acute, that is correct. Or you could say less than. Okay, last one. What type of angle is this? If you said obtuse, you are correct. Or we could say greater than. When we say greater than or less than, we're always referring it to the right angle. Is it greater than a right angle, or is it less than, or is it right? All right. So that's it for today's lesson on 12.2. What you can do later is work on the homework. I hope everyone's doing well. Again, message me with any questions that you have, and I'll see you guys soon. Bye.